It's once again time to do some Browns mock draft. This week, we're going to talk about the wide receiver position. An interesting position, might be a position of strength for the Browns, but it is a very deep draft at this position. So we're looking at two guys. We're not going to look at the tip of the top of the draft with some of the awesome wide receiver prospects, but a couple guys who will be around at 26. Let's start off here. We're going to start with Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss as our first candidate to go to the Browns at 26. And then the second one that we're going to go with here is Rashod Bateman out of Minnesota. Two guys that could be around when we are drafting at 26. Don't know if they'll be around in the second round. We're just looking at the first round. So, Drew, I gave you two names. Third week in a row here. Who are you thinking?
Yeah. So I will, for the first time, believe it or not, I will stick with the two in the question. So well done. And before I do that, I do have to say that I totally agree. It is an extremely deep wide receiver draft, and like people will say that it's deep at other positions. I've heard like interior offensive line, but for a draft to be deep at something, by definition, there have to be elite level players at the top of it. That's the only way the average level player in a draft will slip to where you could acquire him later on than you normally would, because the really excellent talent pushes down the rest of it, right? That's how depth works on a roster and in a draft. And in this case, the wide receiver draft is extremely deep. Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddell, these are excellent players that are going to go top 10, potentially to certainly top half of the draft. By pick 15, most likely all three of them will be gone, which is and they deserve to be. They have shown that type of ability. So you start getting into guys that would in a normal year be in the conversation for one of the first wide receivers taken. And for me, of those two, I'm going to lean towards Rashod Bateman because of the size, strength, speed combination. This is a man who is 6'2", 210 pounds. The pro day 40s I always take with a little bit of a grain of salt, but he ran a 4.39 at Minnesota's pro day. One of the things that stood out to me is a stat that he actually led the nation in yards per route run. And this is sort of like every time they go out for a route, they will chart every time you run a route, how many yards do you contribute, right? If you run a route, you don't get the ball, it's a 0, right? So in yards per route run, he was number 1 in the country. Part of that is because Minnesota didn't have a whole lot else to throw to, so he got a lot of targets. But he is an excellent player, somebody that can start on the outside for the team next season. If we have to move on from one of Jarvis or Odell after 2020. So he would be number 1 on my list. Elijah Moore, 5'9", 185 pounds. He does have good speed as well, 4.35 at the Ole Miss Pro Day. He is excellent as a slot receiver. He's extremely physical for his size. He actually led the nation in contested catches percent at 73%. So meaning when he was covered, he still caught the ball because he was able to use his hands and was able to get through people in some cases. So extremely physical. Went for 1,200 yards receiving. Somebody that I would be would not be upset, but I think they need to start looking at a replacement for either Odell or for Jarvis later on down the line. And to do that, you need somebody who can play on the outside like those two normally do. So the Rashod Bateman would be my choice in that particular case. If they do, look elsewhere on defense in the first round, Rondale Moore is my top prospect for the second round. I won't get into it. I promise to stay on topic this time, but keep the name Rondale Moore. Keep the name Rondale Moore in mind come Friday.
All right, Eric, Drew's stealing some of your stats here, but who you got here? Elijah Moore, Rashod Bateman.
I mean, just between those two guys, yeah, I definitely go with Bateman. He's got
Okay.
25 pounds of weight to his counterpart, and he runs roughly the same speed. He's a 4.35 to 4.39. You look at their stats, as I'm prone to do. 19. This is a 3-year window. 19 to 16 touchdowns in favor of Bateman. 147 only for Bateman, but Elijah Moore with 189, so he has the more receptions. The other thing Moore has, I will give him props though, is he does have that ability to return punts and kickoffs if it comes to that. So, I mean, I love JoJo Natson as much as the next guy, but I don't see him being a long-time solution.
You think we could upgrade there?
Yeah. So, I mean, if he were to slide to the second, or he's around early second, maybe the Browns want to take a third and a fourth, or a future second. I don't know whatever they want to do, and maybe get him after taking a non-receiver in the first round. I mean, I think that'd be his rookie year would be a good opportunity for him to start in the return game and kind of work on those deeper routes while he gets the hang of things. Yeah, so it's funny. Yeah, Elijah Moore's known more as the Blazer as opposed to Bateman, but I mean the speed's not much different. But I mean, I will quote Tony Pauline of CBS, who says that Bateman does not have the best second gear, and so I'm just going to leave that out there. I disagree with it. I think he's shown his ability to get open and cause separation. I think he'd be a tremendous pick for the Browns. It's not the highest of need, but like we had discussed, we need these future projections or future guys that need to contribute down the road should the combination of OBJ and Jarvis Landry no longer be. And I'm like Drew, it sounds like I'm a sizist. I'm going to prefer a guy who's larger and can, get open and do the routes, as opposed to a little guy who's kind of a one-trick pony. You got that Blazer and, might not be able to take those hits in the middle of the field on a consistent basis. This is the NFL. It's not the NCAA. There's a lot of tremendous athletes playing between the hashes. The two guys, I'll just speak quickly. The two guys, or I guess the one guy that Drew had talked about. You also want to talk about Kadarius Toney. I feel like Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney, and Elijah Moore are all in the same mold, that are a little bit smaller, faster guys that I think would complement an offense, but they're not going to be your number one receiver. Bateman has that opportunity to be your number one receiver. I just hope, if they would get, like I said, either Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, or Kadarius Toney, maybe they can get him the second round and maybe develop him to be a exceptional two. I think that might be much to ask for them to be a number one. I mean, again, looking at the size, Rondale Moore, I've seen 5'7", 5'9", depending on who you ask. Yes, he's very strong. He's very fast. He had a great game against Ohio State. That's
he's
what
unguardable.
I'll talk about. Unguardable. But you look at him, he has 14 touchdowns in his collegiate career. 12 of them came in 2018. He's played 7 games the last 2 years, and Kadarius Toney had 12 touchdowns in his collegiate career. 10 of them came last year. So a couple of these wonder guys, 1 year breakout guys. So that kind of worries me as well. So I think the Browns could go a myriad of ways, but if they want to snag Bateman in the first round, they could do a lot worse, and they have done a lot worse in the last 25 years or so in the draft.
We're not allowed to talk about that.
But yeah, so I guess, long story short, I guess I'm in agreement with Drew, which is hard to say.
Feels
All right,
good.
maybe Elijah Moore goes to the Lions and he becomes the Blue Blazer.
Not a nugget.